Right, welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us for our third annual Counselor Day. My name is Mackenzie Camreri and I am an Assistant Director of Admission here at Ursuline College. Before we go ahead and get started and hear from our President and our Vice President for Enrollment, a few housekeeping things. So we will take a 10-minute break in between our presentation and our breakout rooms. And also, if you qualified for the DoorDash gift card, you will receive that during this presentation, so be sure to check your email at the end. If you don't have that by the end of the presentation, please reach out. It will be coming from our Director of Admission, Emily Haggerty, so look out for an email from her. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started, and you will now hear from Sister Christine Deviney, our President.
Thank you, Mackenzie, and welcome to everyone. I should say welcome to Ursuline College, or at least welcome to our Zoom address for this morning. We're very glad that you can be with us. We know that everything about this year has challenged us as much as it has challenged you. It's challenged our students, our families, our schools, and our nation. But with those challenges have come new evidence of our strength and fresh promises of hope. We all know that too. This week, one fresh promise of hope to the nation comes with President-elect Biden's announcement of his pick for Defense Secretary, retired Army General Lloyd Austin. If he's approved, Lloyd Austin would be the first African American in this position, and by all accounts, a stellar choice. Responses to the news have described him as accomplished, respected, trailblazing, dedicated, and exemplary. By the time he retired after more than 40 years in the service, he had led CENTCOM, the military body that oversees all U.S. forces in the Middle East and Afghanistan. Before that, he had commanded the 18th Airborne Corps and the Army's 10th Mountain Division. That Mountain Division had served honorably in World War II, which is a marker in my family because 75 years ago, that is where my father, drafted in the war, fought in the Italian Alps. I say all this not to lead into any cheap comparisons to your own work and your own leadership. I'm not going to say, true as it is, that this year you deserve battle pay. I say it not for the long and distinguished career that General Austin has had to date, but rather for what he faces in the future, in the next months and years. First, you know this, his appointment is by no means certain. By law, since 1947, the Secretary for Defense must be a civilian because his role is to provide civilian oversight for the military. General Austin has not yet been retired for the requisite 5 years, and so he would need a waiver from both the House and the Senate. Even if and when he wins the appointment, he faces the proverbial tough row to hoe. His predecessor was fired just a month ago in a tweet. He will need to direct the not entirely popular downsizing of troops in Afghanistan and Iraq. He'll be walking right into power clashes with China and Russia and fighting international terrorism on the side. All of this in the midst of calls for major budget cuts for the military. That's why I call out General Austin to you today. Not for what he has done, but for what he will face and what he is willing to face. At Ursuline, we follow all the national trends in high school college counseling. We know the stats for applications started and completed. We know the FAFSA completion rates. We look at our community colleges and their enrollment rates. We track the disparity between low-income and mid to high-income college-going preparations. We watch the reported anxiety measures as students and their families reel from job loss and economic insecurity. You are in the trenches with all of this. And that's why today we salute you for what you, like General Austin, are willing to take on. That's why we recognize and respect your leadership. In response, we'd love to ply you with strong coffee and fresh pastries, with a hearty lunch and even cookies to take home. If we can't offer you any of that today, we can still offer you, most sincerely, our grateful appreciation, and again, this welcome to Ursuline College. Thank you.
Thank you, Sister Chris. That was a relevant and timely story as it relates to much of what we're facing today. I'm Susan Delano. I'm the Vice President for Enrollment here at Ursuline. I also want to thank you for joining us today. And we hope today is helpful to you by giving you an opportunity to hear from an expert in the field, but also by allowing you to share with your colleagues. So many of you have been removed from events and get-togethers where you do share and discuss things with fellow counselors. And so hopefully this will give you a few minutes to reconnect and kind of share and express frustrations or tips that you might have for one another. Counseling during the pandemic is a tough job, made even tougher. And if we can imagine going back, even 30 or 40 years, 30 years ago when I started in this profession, I didn't really talk to my colleagues much about how much time they were spending on mental health counseling. And now we're faced with this growing crisis, and many families can't afford private counseling or therapy, or in general, there may be communities that have a distrust of therapy. And this is causing the students to fall back on the schools even more for your help. And as we move to remote learning, we see these issues even more pronounced. Students are suffering in silence alone. And then on top of all of this, I wake up this morning and start to review my email and see a Chronicle of Higher Education article on how students are attending college, at least for the first year right out of high school, at a rapidly declining rate. And the most impoverished group, there was a 33% decline in college-going students.
Oh,
that's just not acceptable. And it's upon all of us to make this correction and make it fast. So I just want to make a few comments about why Ursuline before I turn it over to Mackenzie. We have really been committed to providing a safe environment for our students. You know that we're small, we're in a suburb outside of Cleveland. We've been rated as one of the safest campuses in the US. And we've been committed to making in-person learning work for our students this year, all the while making sure that our students and faculty are staying safe. Our small classrooms provide the flexibility to teach in person. And we even made the commitment this year to assigning one student per res hall room. We had good fortune to have some space to be able to space students out while keeping them safe. Also, just to address quickly this growing decline in college-going students, especially for our low-income families, I want to point out a new national study that was released actually a few months ago on student upward mobility of college graduates, in which we were ranked #1 in the country for its record of moving low-income students into higher income groups. If you haven't seen this study, it's called Winners and Losers, Universities in the Pursuit of the American Dream. And again, this was published in Forbes. That's how we got wind of it. We didn't even know we were part of a study. And the research paper published by the American Enterprise Institute looks at reams of data, including earnings after graduation, demographic characteristics of students as they come in, college spending per student, and admissions selectivity from over 1,100 four-year institutions across the country. So to be named the #1 college for moving students up from low income into higher income groups is a real testament to the commitment our faculty and staff have to making a better life for those that attend. So again, thanks for joining us. We hope to see you in person soon. As was stated in the slides that we're rotating, this is our 3rd annual counselor event. We try to make them topical, topics of interest to you and timely, so that you walk away not maybe only knowing a little bit more about Ursuline, but also something that can be helpful that you can take back to the rest of your colleagues. So once again, thanks, and I'm going to turn it over to Mackenzie.
All right, thank you so much, Sister Chris and Susan, for those words. We're going to go ahead and jump into Jessica Headley's presentation. So she is going to be our speaker today, and she is going to be talking about mental health during this pandemic. So as stated in the email, please make sure you have your wellness wheel nearby for the activity. So Jessica, we're going to go ahead and kick it over to you, and feel free to start sharing your screen when you're ready.
Thanks so much, Mackenzie, and thank you so much, Sister Chris and Susan, for your comments to open this event. I'm so honored to be here, and I'm also so honored to be among all of us as counselors. And I know we all have different specialties, so I'll be using that term broadly together, but also just using counselors to signify that we are all one family and we are all navigating this pandemic together. Before the meeting today, I was doing a quick Google search to see kind of what the latest is on research on COVID-19 among mental health professionals. And some of the things that I was reading, which comes to no surprise, is that our role is crucial. It's not just important, it's crucial, right? And we are also under work strain, right? So there's this heightened pressure. I wonder how many of you joining today are doing anything telehealth or any kind of online services for those you work with. Can you do a reaction or raise your hand and let me know if you've gone online? Okay, a lot of people in person, you are online. I have the experience of doing both right now, and some of what the research is saying is even those for who are doing teletherapy, that strain is very heightened, and so it is in person as well. We're also facing many of the same strains as are the people we serve, and so we have financial strain, anxiety, and the same uncertainty as our students, our colleagues, and our peers. And also, I thought this was really poignant, is that the research is starting to come out on counselor burnout and how to prevent that, and with the expectation that burnout is going to begin to rise among those of us in our family. And so as I was thinking today about what I could best present, I couldn't think of anything better than wellness. And so I'm hoping that you all received the wellness packet for today and had an opportunity to peruse that packet. I want to let you know that part of my background is as a clinical mental health professional, and I've worked in a lot of different settings. And I've been a counselor for over 10 years, and I've used this wellness wheel in a lot of different contexts. And that's why I picked it for today. I've used it in my own personal life. I've used it in college counseling centers with students who are doing support groups as freshmen. I've used it in private practice with individuals and also in couples therapy to help couples strengthen their relationships. I've used it with graduate students that I train in counseling programs. I've used it very much this semester with our counseling and art therapy students. And also, I've used it with staff, even staff here at Ursuline. It's a really insightful worksheet that you can use that's strength-based and focuses on things that we have control over during the pandemic. I find that when I work with clients in private practice now, that it's something tangible that they can take with them and that they really appreciate looking at their sources of resiliency, but also seeing ways that they can creatively navigate the pandemic. So I wanted to bring that wellness wheel up and just quickly go over how I apply that in my work with myself and my clients and my colleagues, and just to have all of us connect a little bit and see how we might be able to use that in our own work. And before I do that, I'm hoping we can all use the chat feature. And I was wondering for you, what is one of your greatest challenges as a counselor right now? Or when you think on a moment that was really difficult for you recently, what was that moment? And if you don't mind, please share that in the chat. Sharing similar anxieties as my students. Would anyone else like to share? Connecting with individuals, especially as we are experiencing Zoom fatigue. Getting students excited for college that aren't currently offering a traditional experience. I find it hard and miss the in-person connections with students, being able to connect with my students who are online. So these are just a few, and I hope that you continue to read what your colleagues are sharing. A lot of what I'm seeing continue to pop up right now is connection. And one of the things that I often talk about with my client is one of the silent epidemics, you know, that's toe to toe with COVID-19 is the epidemic of loneliness. And loneliness can be one of the most difficult struggles that our clients can go through and our students can go through on our college campuses and in our offices. I'm going to go ahead and screen share now. Okay. So as you take a look at this wheel, I'm also curious, and I'd love to use the chat feature as well. When you think about your own wellness, in what area do you struggle the most? If you don't mind putting that in the chat, I'd love to read what in general we're all experiencing. If you were to pick your biggest area of struggle, what would it be for you? And Mackenzie, if you're on, if you could read some of these as I present, that would be really helpful.
All right, so we have a few people saying we have emotional, physical, social, career, emotional, intellectual, physical and emotional. Another one for emotional. All right, those are the ones we have right now. Spiritual is another one that just came in.
Thank you for sharing, Mackenzie. Spiritual. So I'm not surprised by all of the emotional, the intellectual, the spiritual. I'm a little surprised about environmental, given kind of like the isolation, but I wonder maybe if emotional one of the top on our list and the physical because of the services that we're providing and kind of feeling cooped up right now. You know, I think it's really important that each of us steps back and considers where our own wellness is. And I wanted to go through this wheel to just kind of show you what I do with it. And one of the benefits of this wheel, I know I started off with what's your greatest challenge, but I generally with clients and students start off with what are your strengths? And if you have this wheel in front of you, or maybe if you have a piece of paper, that's just fine. I'd love for you to just take an opportunity and go through some of these dimensions of wellness, which I know you're all aware, and give yourself a check mark or maybe even highlight what are your strengths in each of these realms. And there's some examples. You may even come up with an example that I didn't list, and please feel free to add that. So go ahead and take a moment and review what are your strengths. And you'll notice that in each realm, there's some really great examples that you can share if someone's unsure about what that wellness domain would include. So for example, the emotional, we could talk about healthy coping. That word's very intentional, right? Because there's unhealthy coping and there's healthy coping, and we can talk about the difference, or even seeking help. So seeking help from guidance counselor, seeking help from mental health counselor, seeking help from our social support system. For spiritual, you'll notice that's very inclusive. So celebrating with your culture or cultures, if you have multiple identities, sense of purpose and meaning, time and nature, I find has been really important with my clients. Environmental, keeping our spaces clean and feeling comfortable, feeling safe in our community, in our environment. I find this has been really important as racial justice movements coincide with COVID-19 and having that open discussion with our students and with our clients. Social is that boundary setting and having positive, healthy relationships. I also put pets here with social. Sometimes I talk about it spiritually too, but many people have a very close relationship with their pets, and that's really important to acknowledge. The physical is, you know, the eating well, the hygiene, getting movement breaks and getting outside. The intellectual, having the ability to be creative or learning new things. Talking about schoolwork, school loads, right? What that looks like. Career is the, you know, staying on top of schoolwork for many of the people that you serve, gaining work experiences, finding and exploring your passion, and maybe exploring college choices. So I'm hoping that you had enough time as I gave some of like an overview of each domain. What I'd like you to do next is in the small circles is rate your satisfaction in each area. So from 1 to 100, with 100% being I'm perfectly satisfied, everything is wonderful. Give yourself a score. And sometimes I help clients give parameters to this, and I'll say 90 and above, think about that as an A, 80 and above, think about that as a B. Based on your strengths and where you see yourself in each area, what score would you give yourself in each domain? And go ahead and do that. So as you do that, I'm curious to hear now what one of your biggest strengths is and where some of your highest numbers are. And if you don't mind, please respond in the chat and let's share our biggest areas of strength. And Mackenzie, if you could kind of share with the group, that'd be great.
All right, we have career and intellectual,
Mm-hmm.
spiritual and career, physical, spiritual, environmental, and physical, environment 100%, physical 95%, physical and environmental, career and physical, environmental and intellectual, environmental and career.
Thanks, Mackenzie. And everyone can continue reading, but I think that this is very telling, and I think we can already see a pattern, right? So there's two that many of us, understandably, are not reporting as very high, which emotional and social aren't really making the list. And I think that's really important for us to recognize even within ourselves and to give ourselves grace and understand that it's expected during a pandemic that those wouldn't be high for us. As you complete the smaller circles and you look at your areas of satisfaction, the next step that I invite students and clients to complete is in the middle of your circle, there's a large white circle. And in that large white circle, if you're a nerd and you love to calculate, you can absolutely add all of your scores and get your mean. Or if you're like me, you can ballpark it. So take a look at all the small circles and either put the mean in the middle or ballpark it and put that average score that you see just visually. And if you feel comfortable sharing with the group, what is your overall average? I did this last night and I was at an 83. I'm taking a look at the chat and I'm seeing 85, 75 to 80, 90, 89. 67. Mhm. And as we wait for people to calculate and to share, I think it's really important to affirm that all numbers are okay, and that's where we are today. One of the things I often tell my clients and students is, and generally I've never seen this happen in 10 years, is I've never seen anyone be at a 0. And no matter what that number is, I always think it's important to say, there is some grit and strength and resiliency in you because you're not at a 0. So let's talk about that. And the next step I use in the model after getting that overall score is I ask, what's your comfort zone for yourself? And that's your own litmus test. So if you were healthy and feeling well, what's your range that you would feel comfortable having an overall score? Is it 90 and above? Maybe it's 80 and above. Maybe it's 75 and above, right? Or maybe it's a really difficult time. And right now you're aiming for, you know what, anything above 65 is okay with me. And thinking about how you might explore this range with yourself and your students and your clients that you work with, and to co-develop that as a guidepost for the work that you're going to do. This can be really helpful in preparing students for college because it's giving them the skill set to be mindful of their own wellness. This could be really helpful for you, keeping check of your own wellness as you provide services to others. This could be really helpful for your clients who are navigating struggles in the pandemic. I often have clients share with me that they carry this wheel in their purse. They share it with friends. They put it in their nightstand. Some put it on their fridge, something that they can take out and look at. So the next step is to really go over the strengths that your client is identifying and to just get to know them better. I often find that I am absolutely amazed by clients' relationships with their pets. They get to know their pets' names. I love seeing their environment now. That's one benefit of the telehealth is when they talk about environmental wellness, I have an inside view of what their lives are like as they invite me in. I love hearing about the fun activities that they do. I always learn new things. Their creativity and hobbies. I would have never known that some of my clients do woodworking or that some of my clients volunteer in the community. Had I not done this wheel with them, I would have never known that they would like to explore their career possibilities and that they'd be interested in career counseling without discussing that career realm. So we talk about those strengths and we highlight those and I bolster those with clients. And then the next step is outside the wheel or maybe on a separate piece of paper, wherever a client feels comfortable adding, is I invite the client to share 1 or 2 goals that they have related to each realm. And maybe one of your goals is to continue doing something, just to maintain behavior, and that's okay. Or maybe you have another goal that you would like to accomplish, but just picking 1 or 2 and keeping it manageable. And many of us know as counselors the importance of SMART goals, a goal that's specific, a goal that's measurable, something that's attainable, something that's realistic, and something that's timely, something that we can count or put a number to. And so if a client says, I'd like to get up and exercise more, we might invite the client or the student to say, well, how often do you want to exercise, and for how long, and which days? And when's the best time for you to do this? So, okay, you're going to do yoga twice a week for 30 minutes after your afternoon class. That sounds great. And so making sure that those goals are very specific so the client has some direction, and that when you continue to work with your students, or even if this is just a resource that you hand out, they have that guide and they learn about healthy goal setting for themselves. And so I'm curious in the chat again, if you don't mind maybe sharing one of your goals that you have right now for yourself.
Jessica, would you like me to read these as they come in?
I love that.
Perfect. So one counselor says, finish writing my book. Another says, I want to read more and limit social media. Another says, reach out to family. To get more sleep and exercise, to work out more, to begin getting exercise 2 to 3 times a week.
Mm-hmm. So it sounds like to me, so far the responses coming in are related to like physical movement and connection, whether it's connection with yourself or connection with other people that's meaningful. Mm-hmm. I see another comment about hobbies and how important that is. All of these are fantastic, and I'm hoping that I can cook more over break, and my goal is to try a new recipe every single day with my family and to include my children in the cooking as well, to spend some quality time with them indoors. So that's one of my own goals. So as you see, and I'd love your reactions after going over some of the other handouts, that this wheel can be very helpful, not only for yourself, but those you work with. And I had sent the attachments to Mackenzie. I have them all as separate files, which can be slightly annoying. So I'm just going to go over 1 or 2. But in your packet, I worked with our work study student here at Ursuline College in the Women's Center, Madeline Van Horn, and I just want to express such great appreciation for her, because she took this vision that I had and she made it absolutely beautiful in a packet for all of you, so that you would have a resource to take away. And what we work together on is taking each domain and offering simple suggestions that anyone can use. So for example, on the emotional wellness packet page, you'll see creating sticky note affirmations, starting a gratitude journal, whether that is a physical journal or it's an app on your phone, practicing self-compassion, and utilizing scribble or kind of doodling. And I've had some clients and students complete doodle journals or have visual journals, which has been really helpful during the pandemic as well. So each of these pages offers 3 to 5 suggestions in each domain, so that if anyone gets stuck or is looking for a new way to look at wellness, this can be a really great jumping off point. Also, we thought it would be very helpful to have a whole entire page dedicated to wellness apps. And so you'll see that as well. We picked out some of the top apps that we know that students and clients are using, and all of those are listed for you. You may even have some of your own that you'd like to share with your community or those you serve, but these are some great ones. And especially in the technological age, we have found that clients and students really enjoy this list and have started to download and talk about this, especially here on Ursuline College campus. So I'm hoping that these are helpful for you as well. I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing because I want to look at everybody and just connect. And I'm wondering, what was this activity like for you, if you don't mind unmuting yourself and sharing? And how might you use it in your own work? I know we're all counselors here, so we love talking. I'm so surprised by the silence. Can anyone please break it for me?
Hi, I'll go first. My name is Aurelia Dalton. So the activity was really good in that it make you really stop and take a look at the places that you're actually at, because if you're deficient in areas and you're out there trying to pour into others, you know, that lets you, or with me, let me say me, know that, you know, you got to keep working on those things that kind of build you up as well, so that when you're helping your students, you have what it takes to do that.
And what areas have you noticed in your work with students that they need the most support in? I'm just curious.
Well, to be honest with you, a lot of the technical stuff, like the navigating the online and the getting used to the self-discipline that it takes to do a lot of online, because, you know, we have some limited in-person work, but, you know, more than not is online work. And so that was kind of a big switch. And, you know, people learning how to navigate their life now, because children are at home. And so you're trying to deal with your children while dealing with online classes, while possibly dealing with work. And so, you know, just helping people to find that balance and not feeling so overwhelmed and able to adjust to what things are currently.
So some of the things, you know, you speak to are, you know, finding that balance, which we know sometimes I don't know if I even like finding balance because it's never realistic, right?
Right.
But I like to replace finding balance with finding wellness, because it can take all shapes and forms. And sometimes that word balance, even though as counselors we love that word, it can be off-putting to some people because they're like, there is no balance, there never was, and the pandemic has made it worse. And so kind of thinking about striving to navigate or juggle all those roles. Sometimes I talk to clients, and I've written about this too, about the multiple juggles of life roles that we have, and sometimes the balls that we're juggling are plastic and sometimes they're glass. And which ones can we drop and which ones can we not drop? There is no option. There is no way that we can those glass balls, and that can be helpful as a visual, and also as the time management skills, and maybe, you know, practicing time management or also practicing advocacy skills. You know, I have had clients in some of our classes say, you know, I am a mom and I'm really struggling and I don't have childcare today. And we've welcomed children into classes, right? To show
Mhm.
our support, recognize that it's very difficult to navigate that. But sometimes I find that students or clients don't feel like they have the right to ask or the right to advocate for themselves, and allowing them to have that voice can be really important, and it can be one of the wellness strategies.
Yeah. And sometimes
Mm-hmm.
even looking into, what's right for you at this time. Because I know that we
Right.
have a script sometimes that we like to live, but life is life, and you have to do life the way it's best for your needs at the moment. And sometimes that's a hard conversation because I know we all feel like we have to achieve to the highest level, we have to take care of everyone and everything. And sometimes that's a little bit beyond realistic. So you just got to understand where's your life and how do you want to do that.
Mm-hmm. I appreciate that comment so much. I hope I echoed your words of wisdom in the presentation by even sharing that any number is okay, right? And
Yeah,
even if
yeah,
your number
absolutely.
5 is strong, then that's what the grit that we're going to use in that space.
Yes,
Mm-hmm.
absolutely.
So much for sharing. Would anyone else like to share how they might use this wheel with themselves or with others?
Hello, I'm Barbara Winston, and I'm
Hi.
at Calhoun Community College. Hello, colleagues, Aurelia, Cassandra. So can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Hi,
Yes,
Barb.
okay. I have, cute Aurelia. I have my first question before I comment on the wheel is it okay if we share the handouts with our other colleagues? Is that okay?
Oh, I was hoping that you would share this with as many people as possible, with your families, your friends, your colleagues, and those you serve.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Okay, that's good. Great. Okay, so I just wanted to comment back to the exercise. It was really great for me. It basically confirmed a lot of areas that I know I need to work on. Especially, I think I commented on the physical piece. I've done some similar activities with the pandemic and went to some other workshops, and that keeps coming up very clear. The physical, just difficult to get out. I was noticing just the other day, of course, the sitting. A lot of us are sitting, especially a lot of us who are counselors, and basically just trying to take care of myself a little bit better these days. It's kind of difficult again to get up, get exercise, and do things you normally do because we're not getting out, we're not going to class and things like that. Everything is virtual, of course. And in terms of my students, this was really great because I can work with them and helping them to balance some of the areas also on the wheel, especially the social piece, which a lot of students are having difficult with, and also just staying on track with their schoolwork. So I'm kind of excited about using the wheel and trying to motivate them and help them to kind of move forward a little bit to be a little bit more successful on some of these issues.
Mm-hmm. Thank you so much for sharing. And I love your comments about, getting outdoors. And I think one of the additional challenges that we face is that many individuals have like an undiagnosed or a self-diagnosed seasonal affective disorder, right? Where it starts to become winter and they don't want to go outside, and start to getting creative with that. I often ask clients, what do you love about nature, or what do you love about connecting outdoors? What do you look forward to? Can we get back to maybe the old school days where we take a sled and go down a hill? Or can we get creative in our own environment? And one thing that I do with clients that I'll share with you today is I often ask clients, what am I doing right now? And I ask you, what am I doing right now? Well, you can see my face, you can see that I'm giving this presentation and I'm connecting with you, but what you can't see is that I'm lifting my arms up and down. And so sometimes I will even tell students that during their classes, if they don't need to take notes, or maybe things are a PowerPoint or the notes are already provided, go grab 2 weights or go grab 2 soup cans and move your arms a little bit. No one can see you doing it. No one can see you doing that. I do this very often in my classes to get these movement breaks. Research even shows that if you can take a 15-minute movement break, right, every hour, your creativity, your productivity, and your mood are increased. And so it's really important for us to move. And so maybe even suggesting some fun things that haven't been done in a long time, or getting creative in the spaces that we have, can be really helpful. And it's completely manageable, right? We can pick up 2 soup cans and we can do it, no one can see us. And even if someone can see us, I tell my students, that's okay. I encourage my students to take movement breaks during class. And sometimes I will say, I expect you to get up at some point during class and move around and come back. I want you to do that. And sometimes, you know, our reach as counselors is also educating those that we work with and thinking about some creative ideas of how do we transcend the barriers between maybe college counselors and faculty. How can we get together and come up with some creative ideas that promote wellness for our students? What are some ideas we have? So I'm so appreciative, Barbara, of you sharing that. And I wish you the best on your exercise pursuit. Would anyone else like to comment? I'd love to hear from a few more people before we sign off today.
You know what, I'll jump in
Can you
really
hear me?
quick. Oh, go ahead, whoever's talking.
So me?
Yes,
I work with
please.
high school students, and so I feel like the wheel is a great way to get into a store and for us to open up into areas that they're very hesitant about. So it's kind of an easier way to access what's really bugging them, but it's not as intimidating. It might be easier to get them to explore areas without being as dragged or feeling unsought as much. So I think it's going to help in that aspect.
Mm-hmm. What are some of the areas that you think that your students need the most right now in your work?
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you. Could you say it one more time?
Yes, absolutely. What are some of the areas that you think your students need some of the most attention in?
A lot. We've really seen kids kind of falling apart, being virtual. And it really is hard on me because they used to just drop in and see me in my office, and they would just pop in, and it was not so official. And now for me to connect with them, it has to be such an ordeal, you know, either a phone call, an email, a Zoom meet, a Google Meet, and there's so much more hesitant to do that. So I think it's really, they're feeling it all over the place because you can see it in the grade drop. And even kids who would technically be successful are not. They're not able to hold it all together doing the virtual. So I'm not quite sure how to reach them. It's feeling very frustrated on my end, not being able to be there for them.
Mm-hmm. I feel your pain with that, and even with my clients, I think that telehealth or just COVID in general has served as a barrier for seeking help, and also for many of my colleagues, our schedules are overloaded. I found myself this winter break doing a day, and yesterday I saw 12 with no break because of crises related to COVID. And so I feel you, and I often talk about how can I serve and how can I assist the need in myself to do what I'm called to do. And I'm hoping that the wellness packet can help, because maybe it's something that we send out to parents, maybe it's something that we can do in our classrooms, maybe it's a broader way that we can reach people. I know that 2 weeks ago for all of my clients, we have an electronic medical health record system, and I created something very similar to this, and I had our administrative assistant at my private practice email all of my clients. And when I had sessions with them, I couldn't even tell you how grateful they were to receive just a resource, and just for them to know I was thinking about them made all the difference. They said, I can't tell you enough how much that meant that you took the time out to just send an email to us and include something that was helpful for COVID. And so I think I'm sharing this because I think something so simple as sharing a resource can have a significant impact on the people that we serve, and to maybe think about how can we use resources that are reasonable to reach people. And I'm hoping the wellness packet is another one that I found really helpful. And this can be homemade too, is high school students that I work with have really benefited from bullet journaling. And I'm not sure if any of you said in your work, but bullet journaling is a really great way to have specific pages dedicated to wellness. A bullet journal kind of has lots of dots, and people can make images and charts, and they make it from scratch if they use platforms. Pinterest has some really great ideas for bullet journals. Some of my clients track how much water they drink. They track their assignments or grades in a bullet journal. They write down their dreams. They do financial planning in their bullet journaling, how to save money for things that are important to them. I've also used with helping students decide colleges to choose and thinking about their values and making values charts and seeing if college or major aligns with their values. And so bullet journaling may also be another way that's reasonable to reach out to more students or more clients. Thank you so much for sharing.
Sure. Thank
Rick,
you.
Thank you. Rick, I'd love to call on you and hear your thoughts that you were going to share too.
You know what I was just going to mention as we were talking about struggling with being stuck in a chair all day and not really getting much exercise. When I started working from home, I started looking at like stand-up desks and everything, and saw how expensive they were, and I was like, well, definitely not for me. But I did find on Amazon too, for whoever's interested, Amazon makes this DJ laptop stand. So, you know, I guess it's like what people use in the clubs. They put their laptop, they put a projector on their thing, but it works perfect for a laptop. So I'm able to stand, do some typing, and be a little bit more mobile during the day. So I just thought I'd throw that out there.
I'm so appreciative. That's such a fantastic suggestion. Another suggestion that I used to do, I should probably get back into it, is getting a medicine ball and sitting on a medicine ball instead of a chair, because it helps with your balance, and it helps with like your body. And so if you're sitting on a medicine ball, you're constantly you can move, you can bounce, and you're helping your core, you're helping strengthen your core. So another idea is to purchase a medicine ball that elevates you enough to reach your computer wherever it's sitting on your desk or your area that you're working from. I'd love to hear from just maybe one more person.
Oh, sorry. Hi, I know I spoke already. Could I just mention one other thing real quick that I'm really kind of excited about? As I look at the, this is Barbara again, as I look at the increased ways to increase social wellness, that's something that I'm really excited about trying to work on during the holidays, because we're so busy in counseling, even at my own colleagues. Some of them I talk to more than others, but some I really haven't had an opportunity to talk with during the pandemic, see how they're doing, because we're so busy during the day. Unless you call even weekend, and you kind of don't want to bother too many people at that time because they have their own personal things to do. So I'm really looking forward to ways of connecting with colleagues, family, and friends. That's kind of my goal for the holiday. Just calling to check on them, because so many people, there's so many things going on with so many family, friends, and colleagues. I thought of maybe doing a Zoom meeting just to see faces. Recently, we did a video, which was really exciting. And I thought, what a good thing to do for birthdays, in which we did a video to celebrate my husband's uncle's birthday. And it was so exciting because we couldn't tune in on the Zoom. My mother-in-law, she doesn't have internet. So we created this really nice little birthday video. And it was so exciting and everybody loved it. They got a chance to see how the family was doing, and so on. So that's kind of a goal for me during the holidays, is to really take time and not even work as much, because we have options to work certain days, extra days. I said, you know what, I'm not going to work. The money is good, but it's not all that important all the time. And just use some time to relax and connect with my family and friends. Yeah.
I love it. And I love your ideas for connecting with the use of technology, right? And it's creating those videos, or even creating a family night or a friend night where everyone spends time on Zoom. I think can be really amazing. Doing activities together. Some other ideas that clients have shared with me that have really touched my heart are then going back to, what in society now would be non-traditional ways of reaching out. But I've had some clients have great success with writing handwritten letters to people and mailing those out. I had a middle-aged man reach out to all of his childhood friends' mothers and talk about the impact that these mothers had on his life while he grew up with his friends. All of the mothers are now in their 70s, and he started this letter writing campaign and has reached out to all of them just to express how big of a difference that they made in his life growing up. And that was so special to hear, and it made me think about the importance of writing letters or sending cards. I even in the mail the other day got a family letter from a colleague who, instead of sending, the traditional photo card, sent a written letter about just what everyone in the family is up to and how they're doing. And I thought that was really special too, because I got to learn what the whole family was doing right now. And so I think too, encouraging ourselves and our clients and our students and colleagues of how can we connect virtually, but also how can we connect, the good old fashioned way by writing letters and reaching out for a phone call. That means so much right now. And I'm so grateful that you shared that as well. So I know we have 2 minutes left. I'm really cognizant of time. But I just wanted to thank each and every one of you for being here today. And I really hope that you benefited from meeting together and from connecting and sharing our struggles, but also sharing our joys and sharing the reason why we're here. And I think, again, like I opened the presentation, we really are crucial. We play a critical role in helping people navigate the pandemic. And it's so important that we are well, and it's so important that we reach others in tangible ways. And so thank you so much for all that you do. And I have my contact information on the front of the packet. If there is any way that I can support your work, please let me know. I'm happy to partner with you as a counselor or through the Women's Center. I'm also happy to provide resources or to brainstorm with you, to connect with you. So please feel free to reach out, and I wish you the best wrapping up your school years this year, wrapping up your semesters, and spending time with your families and loved ones over the holidays. Thank you so much.